Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Cassidy. Thanks so much for watching and for joining me tonight or today or whatever time you're watching this. So I read the very hyped, very popular series Magnolia Parks, or the whole series is the Magnolia Parks universe. I read all 4 of the books and I thought I should share my opinions with you because I have a lot. I'm not even sure where I first saw this book, but I was obsessed with the cover. I don't have any of the physical books. I have it on my Kindle, but the cover is just like actually gorgeous. You know how like a lot of times in romance books, like the covers are just cheesy, cartoony drawings of the 2 characters, and it's like not that good. I mean, I like the covers of romance books, but I feel like they all look the same. And the Magnolia Parks books, all of them look so different, like they look so cool. But I also don't think they really match the vibe of the books, but that's besides the point. I mean, there's still like a really cool cover. If you don't know what the Magnolia Parks universe is about, it's basically, it gives Gossip Girl basically, but set in London. It's about a bunch of London socialites. They're, I don't know, in their 20s, and it's like a group of friends. They're falling in love, they're partying, they're drinking, there's gang lords. It's like there's just like a whole lot going on. I'll get into more of it then. But basically I went into the series thinking everyone loves this book. I guess I saw it on YouTube first. I can't remember which like booktuber was talking about it, but then I kept seeing it more and more, and I saw it on TikTok, and I had it in my Amazon wishlist for a while now. And when I got my Kindle, I looked it up and it was on my Kindle Unlimited, so I get it for free basically. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna try it out. I read the first book and I just feel like I have some hot takes because I know that like so many people love these books, and so I don't want to upset anyone, but I do want to share my opinions with you. Also, I'm gonna have to include spoilers because if I don't include spoilers, like I don't know how I'm gonna actually talk about the book and my opinions because it won't really be that much. So there is spoilers. There are spoilers. There are spoilers. Yeah, that's right. There are spoilers. So, if you haven't read the book or the series, maybe don't watch this yet. You should probably read the books and then come back once you have your own opinions about it, and then you can be like, your opinion's wrong, you suck. Or you can be like, I agree with you. Anyways, let's get into the first book. The first book is Magnolia Parks. That's the title. It follows, would you guess it? Magnolia Parks. And so Magnolia Parks, how many times can I say her name? Oh my god. She has this friend group. It's her, this guy BJ, it's BJ's brother Henry, it's their friend Christian, his brother Jonah, and then they have there's Magnolia's best friend Paley, and there's another guy that's like maybe Paley's brother or somehow, I don't know, he's in there too. He doesn't really matter, he's not really an important character. But so it's all of them. They're like best friends. They went to boarding school together and became like really good friends. And so now it's following them in their late 20s. I think Jonah's like maybe like 30s. I don't really know. Magnolia and BJ used to date. They broke up because he cheated on her, and they were like madly in love. Like Magnolia was obsessed with him, he was obsessed with her. It was like their first love, but they always thought that they were going to end up together, and then he cheated on her because he literally is so terrible. I hate him, but you like kind of like him. But anyways, they break up. And so basically when the book starts, they're in this weird friendship where they still have feelings for each other and they still like each other, and you can tell that, but they're just friends. And like even though there's all this like sexual tension between them, they don't really act on it because she's still like super mad about him cheating on her. And also he won't tell her who he cheated on her with. He just keeps saying like, it doesn't matter, blah blah blah, and like he wants her back but she won't take him back. So instead they just try and get back at each other and make each other jealous. And so BJ's thing is like sleeping with a bunch of girls, flirting with them in front of Magnolia to make her jealous, and then like she will flirt with other guys, and it's a whole thing. So they have like a really just bizarre relationship, but basically this first book follows them. I don't know, it's like the writing feels a little bit not immature, because it's like they're like drinking and they're having sex. It doesn't like go into a lot of like detail. It's not like a super steamy book, but like it is like, younger people like shouldn't read it, I don't think. It's not like there's a lot of like steaminess to it. I think that the writing's more not mature in the sense that it's just like weird writing. Like I don't even know how to describe it. I guess it just feels like the things that they say and the things that they're thinking wouldn't actually happen in real life. I don't know. Also, like BJ and Magnolia do this thing where they're like, he also calls her Parks by her last name, which a little bit cringy, but he'll say like, how's the weather, Parks? And then she'll be like, oh, it's rainy today, like it's dreary. And that means like she's in a bad mood. And I don't know, there's just something so weird about that interaction. Like I don't know if that's just me, because like I feel like I'm crazy because I feel like everyone loves this book. Like all the TikToks I see are like, I cried at this book, like I cried at this series, and like I didn't cry once. There's also like this weird thing. So Magnolia was secretly dating Christian, who's like part of the friend group, and Christian becomes like way more of a main character in the second book, but they secretly dated, and then BJ found out and was like super mad about it. They never had sex. Like in the first book, I think she's never had sex with anyone but BJ. And even when she was with Christian, like, they did stuff, but, like, not, like, they didn't have sex. And Christian is, like, madly in love with Magnolia, too, because Magnolia just has this something about her that just makes everyone fall in love with her. She's the most beautiful girl. Everyone loves her. She's always in the news, like, in the magazines. And, I don't know, their whole friend group is really, like, they're billionaires, basically, all of them. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it just felt a little bit cringy to me sometimes in the writing. Maybe that's what I mean when, like, I just didn't like it. I'm trying to think if there's, like, any quotes that I can, like, pull to really, like, get my point across, because I feel like I'm not. Okay, I didn't find, like, a quote, but I realized something that, like, kind of drove me nuts throughout the book, is that I guess it's because it switches between like point of view, so it's like Magnolia and then it's BJ. I think it's to create the character and to show that like, okay, now it's BJ's brain and like you're inside BJ's head, but it's like the sentences aren't full sentences. Okay, listen to this. Okay, this one is a full sentence and then it just goes into like not a full sentence. I pull on some sweatpants Parks bought me this week out of the drawer she'd tell you isn't my drawer, but it's my fucking drawer, and we both know it, and I climb onto her bed. Period. Sit on her side of it so she'll pretend to be pissed when she gets out of the shower, and then she'll shove me over to my side, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, it's not a sentence. I feel like he can be his own character and still be talking in complete sentences or thinking in complete sentences. I don't know, little pet peeve of mine. Maybe that's like too picky. But also, as you get further into the series, there's so many like typos and grammar mistakes and like things like that it's not even like I was purposely trying to pick them out, like going in depth trying to find them. They just stuck out like a sore thumb. And I saw a comment, I think it was a review on, I don't know, Amazon or Goodreads about that. I think it was like the third book when I really started to realize it, and I was like, oh my god, there's so many and it's driving me nuts. 2 quotation marks right next to each other. Why? What editor didn't catch that? Also, so the big like twist in the book is that you find out who BJ cheated on Magnolia with, and they're, I don't know, it's like they're happy and they're going to a dinner together with all their friends to like BJ and Magnolia to tell their friends that they're together finally, and then Magnolia puts it together who he slept with and he cheated on her with, and it's her best friend, Paley. Surprise. That actually did surprise me. Like, it was shocking. I didn't really see that coming. Even after that, Like later on in the third book, when it goes back to Magnolia and BJ, because the second book follows Christian and his like girl and his relationship, they still end up together. And I'm like, BJ is literally just like not a good person. Like he's cheated on her and somehow makes it seem as if he did it because like he justifies his reasoning for cheating on her. And he's like, well, yeah, but like I had a good reason. And then Magnolia's like, you know what? You did have a good reason to cheat on me. I don't know. It's just like kind of absurd. But then you go into the next book and it's called Daisy Haites. I think it's just called Daisy Haites. This follows Christian and Daisy. In the first book, you're introduced to this character, Julian, who is this big, like, gang lord. He'll kill anyone he wants, and I don't know, everyone's like, oh, you don't mess with him. And he's, like, flirts with Magnolia a little bit. You learn that Magnolia and Julian, they tried to hook up, and then Magnolia was crying about BJ, so he basically just consoled her for the night. And so the second book is Daisy, who is Julian's younger sister, and you follow her and Christian's relationship, and basically they're dating in the first book in Magnolia Parks, and they're like kind of like just background characters. Well, Daisy is. And then she's like, I'm not gonna be with you anymore, like you're still in love with Magnolia. And so basically the second book is that whole relationship. And I did like Daisy's point of view a lot more than Magnolia, because I feel like Magnolia is just so entitled. She's just so obsessed with her looks and what clothes she's wearing and what other people are wearing. And like she does this thing where she'll just look at someone and she'll be able to tell exactly what they're wearing, who they're wearing, down to like details of like how it would be listed like on a website or in the store or whatever. But I don't know, I feel like she's just so obsessed with her looks. Not even that she's obsessed with her looks, but it's just like an entitled thing where, I don't know, I felt like more connected to Daisy, but I still feel like I couldn't like fully immerse myself in the characters or in their world. And I don't know if it's like the writing that I couldn't connect myself, or if it's just like honestly just their world and that they're 20-something-year-old billionaires and they just don't care about money. They all know that they're rich. They have jobs, but like all they do is like go out and like drink every night, have sex with each other, and that's it. The second book starts off, let me read it to you. The first sentence is in Daisy's perspective. The second book actually goes between Daisy, Christian, and Julian, and this is how it starts. No guns at the dinner table. That's my one rule. Call me old-fashioned. I don't know. It's just what I've always said to the boys. I don't care about phones. I don't care if they're texting. I don't care if they're wearing a hat at the table. I just don't want guns while I'm serving them a brisket I slow cooked for 9.5 hours. And I mean, let me tell you, like, obviously I kept reading. I read the next 2 books. No guns at the dinner table. Like, I don't know. They're the friend group. The second book, you learn way more about Daisy and Julian, and Julian's like group of guys that he keeps around him that work for him, that protect Daisy, because their family is just, they're in a gang. And so obviously they're like killing people and they steal art, like really valuable art. So they have a lot of people coming after them. So they need to keep themselves protected like at all times. So they always have security with them. And it's like a super tight knit like group of people. And so you learn all about them kind of. Well, you learn more about them. So it does make sense, like no guns at the dinner table. But there's just things that happen that it just makes me, I don't know, it just made me cringe a little bit. Like at one point, Daisy shoots herself, but she shoots herself to where like, it's okay. She's gonna live, but she does it to make a point. So I don't know, it just feels like a little bit like what that actually happened. And maybe I just need to suspend my, what is it, like suspending your disbelief? I think that's what it is. Maybe I need to do that and just take it for what it is and not think too deep into it like it is a fiction book, and just enjoy the romance. But it just felt a little bit like too much at some points. Like it was trying too hard, if that makes sense. Like I just feel like I couldn't get into it to the point where I'm like crying over these characters, or getting like super upset about things that happen or feeling like super passionate about it because I just like couldn't get myself to really like these characters or like fall for them. And I feel like I do that a lot. Like I'm reading a book and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I love this character, like this guy, like, oh, you know, like love him, or like I love this girl, like I can relate to her. Like I just couldn't do any of that. And again, maybe it's because it's the world that they're in that I can't relate to that world because I'm obviously not a billionaire. Like I said though, I did enjoy Daisy and Christian's perspective. I feel like their relationship is still toxic, but it's not as toxic as Magnolia and BJ's. Daisy and Christian they're basically friends with benefits at the beginning of the second book, and they both know what the relationship is. They're just friends, they're hooking up, and then it slowly like turns into more. Christian can't commit because he's still in love with Magnolia, and he thinks Daisy doesn't know that, and so he's kind of letting Daisy believe that he's falling for her and thinks that she's falling for him and that it's going to be okay or whatever. And then obviously Daisy realizes that he's still in love with Magnolia, and she's like, I'm not gonna be like second to Magnolia. I just remembered something else that like drove me nuts when I was reading the book, is that sometimes they'll randomly, like I feel like all the characters do it, they'll randomly throw out the you, like second person point of view, where they're like, well, you already know this though. Or like Daisy says, do you know what original sin is? Do you believe children carry the sins of their father? Have you heard that? And it's like they're talking at the reader. Whoa. And I don't know why, but that drove me insane. Because when I first read it, I was like, am I reading like a notebook that the characters are keeping? Or like what's going on? And then I don't know, I feel like I just accepted it as I kept reading, but I actually like despise it. And it's so weird that it like flips back and forth between like, do you think that? You already know that. It's weird. Something else that drives me nuts is that Julian calls Daisy Face. Like, they'll just be talking and he's like, blah, 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 blah. Okay, Face. What does that mean? What does that mean? Christian calls Daisy Baby Haites. Her last name is Haites. Baby Haites, or just baby. But not baby in like an endearing term. Baby for like Baby Haites. And I just don't understand all the nicknames, and I don't know. Also, in Daisy's point of view, and hers is the only point of view that does this, there's little footnotes. And on the Kindle, you can click them and it pops up right away. But they're everywhere. They're like probably every other paragraph there's a footnote. And I don't know why it drove me insane to have to click the footnotes to like, for her to just explain like who a character was or what she was actually feeling. Like she would say something and then you'd click the footnote like right after the quotation and it'd be like, well, actually I didn't think that, or like actually I was lying, or like whatever. Everything that was in the footnote could have been included without the footnote. You could have just put it behind the sentence, like instead of adding a footnote in. Just felt a little bit extra. Basically, at the end of the book, Daisy and Julian get in like a huge blowout fight, and Julian is acting like Daisy isn't part of his family anymore, even though that's really the only family that they have. The only family they have is each other, and he's like, I want nothing to do with you. You're nothing to me anymore, because she like ruins some sort of like scheme, gang related thing. He basically kidnaps children, which is so absurd. I feel like we just really skip over that. But he kidnaps children to try and get his point across for this deal. And Daisy goes to this cop, Tiller, who just keeps showing up throughout the whole book, like being like, oh, where's your brother at? What's he doing? And Daisy's like, oh, nothing. And she just flirts with him, and then he like flirts with her back and then goes away and then comes back. But anyways, Daisy goes to him, and they together bust this like kidnapping. So then she, at the end of the book, asks Christian to run away with her and like start a new life, and he's like, my life is here, like, because he's also part of the gang world, and so he's like, my life's here, I can't leave it. And so you're like, oh no, what's gonna happen? Are they gonna, they're apart at the end of the book, they're not together. Yeah, I don't know, overall the second book I felt like was better than the first. It was still like a whole lot going on, but it was easier for me to get through. So the third book is Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home. this book is now back to Magnolia and BJ's point of view. This book starts off with Magnolia being in New York. She's been there for a year now, I think. After she found out about Paley and BJ, she moves to New York. Starts a new life there. Hasn't talked to BJ since she moved. And she's like getting with all these guys. And she comes back for her dad's wedding. And when she comes back, she obviously sees BJ, sparks some sparks. Anyways, she ends up not going back to New York and staying in London. Shocker. So, because if she would have gone back to New York, there would be no book. But so you're following the two of them, yet again, just a series of toxic, everything about them is toxic. It's like they want each other, but she's still mad at him, and so he gets with other people, and now she's past the point where she's like, oh, I can't have sex with anyone else because he's the love of my life. So now she's just like having sex with other people to get back at him when it's making him mad. And BJ has a girlfriend, and so to get back at him, Magnolia starts dating Julian. Yeah, which honestly, like, I was so rooting for them. Like, I wish they would have just ended up together because I think they're so cute together. Yeah, they start dating, but it's like he knows that it's just like for show, but he starts falling for her. This book just felt like a repeat of the first Magnolia book, where like it just feels like the same thing was happening again. It's like they're with other people, but there's still tension, and they're basically like wanting to be with each other. Like BJ doesn't even like his girlfriend. He's just staying with her to like really like stick it to Magnolia. I guess like it just starts feeling like Wattpad-y at some point. I don't know. It just, I mean, like I said, like I'm reading the book. Like it's not like I DNF'd it. If I really hated it that much, I wouldn't have kept reading it. So something about it clearly kept me engaged, but it was just not my favorite. Also, in this book, again, there's so many typos. It's like hard to read. I think this book was especially when like it was hard not to notice them and not to like cringe every time I saw one. Like I just don't understand, like, where's the editor? Just again, like I said a million times, it's literally just so toxic. And at some point, it's like there's the miscommunication trope, which I already hate, but it gets to a point where it's like, how long can the miscommunication go on for? Be mature, have a conversation about your feelings and how you feel about each other, and let's just get on with it. Wow, that got like I got a little bit too into that. I don't know. You also learn in this book that I guess not the real reason, but like a big point as to why Magnolia and BJ are so connected is because she got pregnant at a very young age. I think she was 16. Like, it was right around when they first started dating, or when they were first together before they had broken up. They got pregnant and she lost the baby. And so that, like, really connected them. And, which, that's, like, really sad. And like, I understand how that could connect them, but I feel like they've almost used that to become so dependent on each other. Like, they're so codependent, and especially Magnolia, like, all the characters say it, like, she can't do anything alone. She always has to have someone there, and, like, that's just unhealthy at some point. And I feel like Magnolia never wants to work on herself. At least BJ in the second book, he's going to therapy and he's like trying to become a better person. But Magnolia just never tries to be a better person. She always just only cares about herself. I mean, at the end of the book, they end up getting together. She breaks it off with Julian. BJ breaks it off with his girlfriend. They get together. They get married. And I'm pretty sure they get married. Don't quote me on that. So then we get into the fourth book, which is Daisy Haites, The Great Undoing. This book starts out, Daisy is living with the cop, Tiller. They end up getting together because Daisy wants a normal life. After the second book ended, she wants to be normal, so she and Tiller start dating, and they do live a pretty normal life for about a year until she starts getting threats. And it becomes too much, and so she moves back in with Julian. Tiller moves in with her, and you can kind of tell like their relationship's declining. They were never really gonna last once Daisy entered back into this life of crime and like life of being around gang members. And I mean, Tiller's a cop, so I think it's like, it is really hard for him to know that all this stuff is going on and like be in the house where all this crime is happening and not do anything about it because you want to stay loyal to your girlfriend and their family, but then you also have a job to do. Honestly, like, I found their relationship just super annoying because the whole time I'm rooting for Daisy and Christian, and it's like, I don't know, I feel like Tiller, he was being a little bit annoying because I understand that you're a cop and you have a job, but also, why do you suck so much? And like, he would just leave all the time and like make excuses not to come around and not to be in the house because he like couldn't stand to be near Julian and be around his gang people. Also, there's like all this tension between Daisy and Christian once they start seeing each other again. But in this book, it's Christian kind of chasing Daisy, but Daisy being like, one, I'm with Tiller, I want this life of normalcy, and you still love Magnolia. And he's like, no, I don't, I love you. You also get Julian's point of view when he's dating Magnolia. So it's kind of like a flashback to the third book when Magnolia's with Julian trying to make BJ jealous. And also, okay, this is another thing with the dual point of views with like the separate books where like it's overlapping timelines, and so you're seeing the same plot, the same storyline in different perspectives in different books. So like the third book, Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home, you see Magnolia and Julian's relationship through Magnolia's eyes. And then in Daisy Hates the Great Undoing, you see their relationship through Julian's eyes. I liked that. I like seeing the different perspectives, but I also felt like it was just so repetitive because it would literally be the same conversations that I'd already read the book before, but instead of like the one sentence of Magnolia, like her thoughts after the conversation, it's Julian's. And like, okay, that's nice, or it's Christian's, or whatever. And that's nice, but at the same time, I already read that whole conversation. Like, I don't need to read that whole conversation again. Like, it just felt like so much wasted space in the book. It could have been so much shorter because I'd already read that conversation before. And so I was just getting like kind of tired of reading the same stuff because I'd be like, oh wait, yeah, no, I remember that exact conversation. I just read it, the previous book. So that was a little bit annoying. But I did really like Julian's perspective. I feel like he might be one of my favorite characters out of the entire book series, just because I feel like his perspective kind of like humanizes him in a way. Even though, okay, I say that and I'm forgetting that he literally kidnapped children. I don't know, I feel like him and Magnolia were so cute together and he was actually falling for her, even though everyone falls for Magnolia, which is super annoying. But I feel like they could have had such a good relationship if she wasn't so obsessed with BJ and being with BJ because of their complicated past. Daisy and Christian are cute. They ended up together, of course. And I don't know, like, I just have so many mixed feelings about the books because I just feel like everyone's so, like, I keep saying this, I feel like everyone is so obsessed with them and I just didn't have that same reaction. It's not like I hated the books. Like, I really didn't hate them. I just didn't love them at all. I feel like it could have been so much better without the little things like the mass amount of typos and grammar errors and like stupid sentences that aren't full sentences. It's like maybe like the little things that I feel like added up as I was reading it, that it was just like, what is going on? Like, what am I reading right now? I think if I had to give this series a rating, I would rate it, this is tough, I think I would rate it a 3 out of 5. Yeah, I think I would rate it a 3 out of 5. It's okay. I think if you're looking for a new romance series that like really grips you, really hooks you in, and like something that you're gonna really remember and fall in love with the characters, and like something where like I have it on my Kindle, I'm not going to go buy the physical copies to have the physical copies, where I think if I rated the series 5 out of 5, I would want to go have the physical books. I feel like if that's what you're looking for, probably not a good series. If you're looking for, you like a little bit of romance, but a little bit of drama and Gossip Girl, that kind of vibe, then I would probably recommend that for you. So I feel like that wraps up my thoughts and opinions on the series. I know that was a lot, but I just wanted to share how I felt about the books, since I feel like everyone has so many opinions on them, and I feel like mine don't really match a lot of what I keep seeing. So I don't know. If you agree, let me know. If you don't agree, also let me know. I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments. I had a lot of fun talking about this. I feel like I've just been talking nonstop. I need to take a drink of water and not talk now for a little bit, because I'm just talking a lot. I'm gonna shut up now and go, I don't know, read. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to see more bookish content, you can check out my Instagram. I'll put the Instagram handle in the description so you can follow that. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in next video.